Dinner at the River Lantern had just begun when my father ordered, "Smile." As the waiter replaced the silverware, my stepmother, Lara, gripped my wrist and drove her fist into my ribs for embarrassing the table. I looked straight at the ceiling camera and whispered to the lapel mic, 8:13 p.m. Thank the fork. They thought I'd stay silent. They didn't know I work in compliance. And the cop I'm calling is the one she used to date. My name is Nora Quinn. I am 32 years old. And tonight, I am the filling in a sandwich of familial resentment. It is Friday in Foxbridge, a city that prides itself on its quaint brickwork and old money, now slicked with a fine, persistent rain. The windows of the River Lantern are fogged over, blurring the streetlights into golden halos. Inside, the air is warm, thick with the scent of roasted garlic and damp wool, underscored by the low murmur of conversations from people who believe their lives are private. I am seated between my father, Richard Quinn, and his wife, Lara Wynne, to the world. He is the founder of Harborline Dynamics, a logistics empire built from a single rusty truck. To me, he is a man who has perfected the art of looking away. To the world, Lara is Harborline's chief communications officer and the polished, philanthropic face of the Quinn family. To me, she is the architect of a silence so profound it has its own sound. The waiter, a young man with a nervous tremor in his hands, moves around our table with practiced efficiency. He places a bread plate, a water goblet, and the heavy monogrammed silverware before each of us. But in front of me, there is a gap, a small gleaming void where the salad fork should be. It is an insignificant oversight, a 2-second problem. But in my family, there are no insignificant oversights. Lara's smile doesn't falter, but the muscles around her mouth tighten by a millimeter. I see it. I always see it. She leans toward me, her perfume, a sharp, floral scent designed to command a room, enveloping me. Her voice is a low, perfectly modulated whisper, meant for my ears alone. "Don't embarrass the family, Nora." The words are a familiar refrain, the opening notes of a song I have known my entire adult life. Embarrassment, for the Quinns, is not about causing a scene. It is about revealing a flaw. A missing fork is a flaw in the restaurant service, but my reaction to it could be a flaw in the family's composure, and Lara Wynne does not tolerate flaws. Under the heavy linen of the tablecloth, her hand finds my wrist. Her fingers are long and slender, her nails impeccably manicured and filed to a soft, professional oval. They are also as hard as steel. She squeezes, not a gesture of affection, but of control. The pressure is precise, targeting the delicate bones. Her French manicure, a pale, innocent pink, becomes a set of 5 distinct points of pain. "We're fine," she says to the hovering waiter, her voice now a warm, forgiving honey. She gives him a smile that could charm a city council into rezoning a historic district. "Just a missing fork. It happens." The young man flushes, stammering an apology. "My sincerest apologies, Mrs. Wynne. I'll bring one right away." He scurries off. My father clears his throat, a dry rustling sound. He unfolds his napkin and places it on his lap, his gaze fixed on the wine list as if it contains the secrets of the universe. He sees nothing. He chooses to see nothing. The waiter returns, presenting a new salad fork on a small silver tray as if it were a crown jewel. He places it carefully beside my plate. Again, my apologies. "Thank you," I say, my voice steady. As the waiter turns, Lara's hand releases my wrist. For a single, deceptive second, I think that's the end of it, but it never is. The punishment must always match the perceived crime. In her world, the public slight of a missing fork requires a private correction. Her movements are a study in economy. Her left hand, the one that just released me, rests elegantly on the table. Her right hand, hidden from the rest of the dining room by the tablecloth and my own body, moves with the speed of a striking snake. There is no wind-up, no warning, just a hard, compact fist driving straight into my right side, just below the rib cage. It's a practiced blow, delivered with the kind of efficiency that comes from years of repetition. It's not meant to leave a visible mark where anyone might see it. It's designed for maximum internal impact and minimal external evidence. A sharp, violent burst of pain radiates through my torso. The air is punched from my lungs in a silent gasp. My entire body tenses, a reflexive attempt to absorb the shock. For a moment, the warm, golden light of the restaurant seems to flicker and dim. I don't flinch. I don't cry out. I have been trained too well for that. Instead, I subtly shift in my seat, a movement that could be interpreted as simply getting comfortable. On the table. My phone lies face down. It looks inert, a sleek black rectangle of glass and metal, but it is very much alive. A discreet recording app, one designed for journalists and investigators, has been running since we sat down. The phone's microphone is good, but the one clipped to the inside of my blazer lapel is better. It's a professional-grade lavalier mic, small enough to be mistaken for a loose thread. It is positioned perfectly to capture the soft, dull thud of knuckles hitting fabric and flesh, and the sharp, involuntary intake of my breath that followed. The sound of assault, clean and undeniable. My gaze lifts from the pristine white plate in front of me. I look past Lara's serene profile, past my father's deliberate ignorance. My eyes find the small, dark dome of a security camera mounted on the ceiling, its lens aimed directly at our table. I track the sightline to a second camera, a smaller bullet-style model tucked discreetly behind the bar. Its field of view also encompassing our corner booth. 2 angles. Redundancy is key in any data-gathering operation. A soft vibration buzzes against the skin of my left wrist. My smartwatch. I had enabled the fall and impact detection feature earlier in the day, calibrating its sensitivity. The sudden jolt of Lara's fist was more than enough to trigger it. A notification, which I will not look at now, will be waiting for me. It will read, "Hard impact detected at 8:13 p.m. It will have logged the precise time, my heart rate spike, and the GPS coordinates of the River Lantern restaurant, data point after data point, all converging on this single moment." "Don't make a scene," Richard mutters into his napkin, his voice low and serrated. He still hasn't looked at me. He is speaking to the potential disruption, not to the cause of it. The family image is the only thing that needs protecting. Lara, her duty done, is already performing for her next audience. She turns slightly, offering a radiant smile to a couple at the adjacent table, a prominent local developer and his wife. "Their sea bass is simply divine," she mouths, a gesture of shared, upper-class bonhomie. They smile back, utterly charmed. Nothing is wrong. The Quinn family is the picture of grace and decorum. I reach for my water goblet. The ice clinks against the crystal, the only sound that betrays the tremor in my hand. I lift the glass, but I don't drink. I look at my distorted reflection in its curved surface. My face is pale, my expression a carefully constructed mask of neutrality. This face has been my shield for 15 years. It has absorbed insults, threats, and the occasional backhanded slap in the privacy of our home. It has been the silent witness to Lara's escalating campaign of control, a campaign my father has tacitly endorsed through his inaction. The woman in the glass looks tired, but tonight, she also looks different. Resolute, the pain in my side is a sharp, grounding reality. It is the final piece of evidence in a long and meticulously compiled case file. 8:13 p.m., I think to myself, the numbers searing themselves into my memory. That's enough. My hand lowers the glass back to the table, making a soft, definitive click against the coaster. With my other hand, I pick up my phone. My movements are calm, deliberate, the way they are when I'm reviewing a compliance document or preparing a risk assessment report for Harborline's board. Under the table, out of sight. My thumb unlocks the screen. I open my messaging app. I scroll to a contact saved simply as E. My thumb hovers for a second, the final moment of a life defined by quiet endurance. Then, I type a single word. Body cam? I press send. The message disappears into the ether. A question, a request, an activation. I place the phone face down on the table again, exactly where it was before. I pick up my newly acquired salad fork. It feels heavy, solid in my hand. The pain in my ribs is a dull, steady ache now, a reminder. I look at Laura, who is laughing softly at something the developer's wife said. I look at my father, who is finally studying my face, his expression a mixture of warning and weariness. I offer him a small, placid smile, the one he ordered. The performance is back in place, but the script has been rewritten. They just don't know it yet. In the carefully curated social ecosystem of Foxbridge, the Quinn family is a protected species. We are the model family, a term coined by the Foxbridge Chronicle after the launch of our Riverfront Foundation, a charity that polishes the city's public parks and, by extension, our public image. Our faces smile from the society pages, captured at galas where we raise money for causes that are both worthy and photogenic. Richard Quinn, the self-made titan of industry, Laura Wynne Quinn, his beautiful, civic-minded wife, and Nora Quinn, the quiet, dutiful daughter. We are a triptych of success, a brand of unimpeachable respectability. This brand is Laura's masterpiece. She came from the world of high-stakes public relations, a place where reality is a negotiable commodity. She knows every member of the city council by their first name, knows which reporter is looking for a puff piece, and knows exactly how much to donate to the Police Benevolent Fund to ensure the chief tips his hat to her at the annual parade. Her public persona is an intricate construct of warmth and accessibility. Her private one is something else entirely. A friend of hers once laughingly described Laura's motto as, "A smile for the press, claws for the kitchen." It was the most honest thing ever said about my stepmother. My father, Richard, provided the raw material for her art. He built Harbor Line Dynamics from a single, wheezing freight truck and a seemingly inexhaustible supply of ambition. He transformed it into a national logistics network, a sprawling empire of warehouses, shipping lanes, and corporate contracts. He understands systems, efficiency, and the critical importance of a flawless supply chain. He applied the same principles to his family. Our lives were another one of his logistical triumphs, a smooth, uninterrupted flow of success. Any disruption, any truth that might scratch the glossy paint of that success, was to be smoothed over, rerouted, or discarded. I grew up under the shadow of a single, unwritten commandment: preserve the image. It was the answer to every question, the reason for every silence. When a boy in 7th grade pushed me down the stairs and I came home with a bleeding knee and a torn dress, the first question wasn't, "Are you okay?" It was, "Did anyone see?" The truth, that the son of a potential business partner was a bully, was less important than the image of a well-adjusted daughter who didn't cause trouble. The message was clear. Your pain is a private matter. The family's reputation is a public trust. Don't confuse the two. So I learned to live within the margins, to make myself small and quiet. When I graduated from college with a degree in business analytics, I applied for a position in Harbor Line's risk assessment program. It was what I was good at: seeing patterns, identifying vulnerabilities, calculating the potential for things to go wrong. It seemed a logical fit. Laura thought otherwise. "You'll start in reception, darling," she had announced over a celebratory dinner that felt anything but. "It's the face of the company. You'll learn etiquette, how to handle people with grace." It was a masterstroke of passive aggression, a public demotion framed as a learning opportunity. I was the founder's daughter, with a top-tier degree, answering phones and signing for packages. It was a daily reminder of my place, a lesson in humility I had never asked for. I was to be seen, but not in a position of any real authority. I was part of the set dressing, another element of the perfect corporate image. My escape from that gilded cage came a year later, courtesy of a senior executive who cornered me in the copy room. It was a textbook case of workplace harassment. Clumsy and entitled, I reported it, following the official protocol. The next day, The executive was quietly transferred to another branch with a promotion. A week after that, a small, anonymous story appeared in a local business blog, praising Harborline for its proactive handling of internal personnel matters. The metadata of the PR firm that planted the story traced back to an agency Lara kept on a private retainer. She hadn't just buried my complaint, she had turned it into a public relations victory. That was the moment the silence broke for me, if only on the inside. I realized that the system wasn't just broken, it was designed this way. It was designed to protect the image, not the people. I requested a transfer, not out of the company. That would have been a public admission of defeat. Instead, I moved sideways, into the one department Lara couldn't easily manipulate: compliance and internal legal. It was seen as a backwater, a dreary landscape of paperwork and regulations. To me, it was an armory. I spent my nights and weekends not on an MBA, but on a paralegal certification. And then I started studying corporate law on my own. I read contracts, memorized SEC regulations, and learned the intricate dance of corporate governance. I learned the language of rules, the cold, hard logic of liability. I was forging my own set of claws. The family dinners, like the one tonight, never stopped. They were a mandatory performance, a stage where we played our designated roles for an audience of restaurant patrons and business acquaintances. At these events, Lara was always at her most affectionate. She would place a hand on my arm when speaking to me, a gesture of maternal warmth. For the cameras at the Riverfront Foundation galas, she would wrap an arm around my shoulders, pulling me into the perfect family portrait. The photographers would capture the smiles, the easy intimacy. They wouldn't capture the memory of her fingers digging into my bicep an hour earlier in the car. Her voice a venomous hiss. "Your posture is a disgrace. Do you want people to think I raised a slob?" The violence was always discreet. The bruises always located where they could be covered by a sleeve or a blazer, a sharp shove against a wall in the hallway, a hand gripping my arm with punishing force, or a swift, calculated strike to the ribs. It was a physical punctuation to her verbal curriculum of control. Each blow was a lesson. You are mine to manage. Your body is just another asset I control. For years, I believed that my silence was a strategy, a form of armor. If I didn't react, I didn't give her the satisfaction. If I didn't speak up, I avoided the inevitable escalation, the gaslighting from my father, the isolation that would follow. I told myself that enduring it quietly was a form of strength, a way of surviving until I could finally be free. But sitting here tonight, with the dull fire spreading in my side and the ghost of her knuckles on my skin, I understand the truth. Silence is not safety, it is complicity. My silence has enabled her, it has protected her, it has allowed this performance to go on, season after season, with no end in sight. My silence has been the unpaid premium on the family's insurance policy, and tonight, I have decided to stop paying. They have built their world on a stage, meticulously crafting the lighting, the props, and the script. They thrive in the warm glow of the spotlight, soaking in the applause of a city that only sees the characters they play. I look at Lara, her head tilted, just so as she listens to my father discuss a new shipping route with the kind of performative interest she reserves for his business talk. They are so comfortable in their roles, so certain of their narrative. They love a stage, I think, a cold clarity settling over me. The pain in my side is no longer just pain, it is fuel. Fine, I'll just make the lights brighter. In my world, the one I built for myself inside Harborline Dynamics, emotion is a liability, logic is a fortress. As I sit at the dinner table, the pain in my side a dull, rhythmic throb. My mind is not replaying the impact, it is executing a protocol. My brain has left the restaurant and is now in my office on the 19th floor, pulling up files. The centerpiece of Harborline's current strategy is Project Keystone, the acquisition of Stonepath Freight, a move valued at $1.8 billion. This isn't just a merger, it's an evolution. A deal that will make Harborline the undisputed dominant force in domestic logistics. It is my father's legacy project. It is also, as of 8:13 p.m., spectacularly vulnerable. I know this because I helped draft the covenants on the financing agreement. The consortium of banks funding the deal is risk-averse. They are not old-school lenders. They are modern institutions obsessed with metrics, public perception, and downside mitigation. At their insistence, our legal team negotiated a 30-page addendum on corporate governance and ethics. Tucked into Section 4A, subsection 3, is the Executive Character and Morals Clause. It's a beautiful piece of legal text, precise and unforgiving. It states that if any C-suite executive or named officer of Harborline Dynamics is publicly confirmed to be involved in an act of moral turpitude, including but not limited to documented domestic violence, assault, or public intoxication, the lending consortium reserves the right to trigger an immediate review. This review can lead to an acceleration of existing debts or, more catastrophically, a termination of the merger financing, along with a 9-figure penalty payment. The word publicly is the key. An allegation is gossip, a police report, a civil filing, or verified video footage is data. This clause runs in parallel with another, equally critical metric, our ESG score, the Social Responsibility Committee, a board-level body created to placate our more progressive institutional investors, has tied the final interest rate on our loan package to our environmental, social, and governance rating. A high score locks in a favorable rate that saves us tens of millions. A sudden, negative event in the social or governance category, such as, for example, a media report that the chief communications officer engages in physical violence, would be catastrophic. It wouldn't just be bad press. It would be a direct, quantifiable financial hit. As the CCO, Lara is the public guardian of this very image. She is the one who drafts the press releases about our corporate family, our commitment to community, and our unimpeachable ethics. She is also, by title, a named officer, explicitly covered by the Morals Clause. Our internal reporting protocols, which I myself rewrote last quarter, are clear. Any incident involving negative media exposure or law enforcement contact associated with senior leadership is classified as a Tier 1 reputational risk. It bypasses the standard managerial chain and requires an emergency report to be filed directly with the Internal Ethics Committee and the General Counsel within 24 hours. Failure to report constitutes a separate and fireable breach of governance. I am the senior analyst in the Compliance Division. My job is to see these landmines before anyone else does. My job is to create the checklists that prevent the company from blowing itself up. Last month, I finalized the compliance checklist for Project Keystone. It included a new item: risk audit, senior leadership, personal. It was on this checklist that I added a specific sub-bullet: review and mitigate potential for public incidents documented by third-party footage. I remember the review meeting. Lara had glanced at my presentation, her red pen tapping impatiently on the table. When she got to that line item, she gave a short, dismissive laugh. It was a sound like dry leaves scraping pavement. "Really, Nora? Third-party footage?" she'd said, looking at our general counsel. "Are we worried one of our VPs is going to get caught on a nanny cam? These clauses are for other people, not for us. It's paranoid." The general counsel, a man who values efficiency over thoroughness, had nodded. "Let's not waste resources on hypotheticals. Quinn, move on." But I hadn't moved on. As part of my risk mapping, I had already flagged the River Lantern. It's a known haunt for executives, politicians, and reporters. It's a high-visibility, high-risk environment. I have a file on my secure drive that includes a schematic of this very restaurant, pulled from public city permits. It shows the location of all registered security cameras: the one in the ceiling dome, the one at the bar, the one covering the hostess stand. I had cross-referenced their fields of vision with the table layout. Our booth, the one Lara always requests for its privacy, is one of the few tables in the entire establishment with clear, overlapping coverage from two separate angles. She thought the alcove hid her from view. She was wrong. It just gave the cameras a better, unobstructed shot. Now, my mind is a flowchart. The machine is running. Item 1. The event. Assault. 8:13 p.m. Item 2. The evidence. My primary recording. Audio. My smartwatch data. Impact. Time. GPS. Heart rate. Item 3. The corroboration. Restaurant POS system. I will need the itemized receipt from this dinner. The timestamp on the credit card transaction will align perfectly with the 8:13 p.m. impact, placing all parties at this precise location at this precise time. Item 4. The third-party documentation. The River Lantern's CCTV footage. 2 angles. This is the linchpin. This is what moves the incident from private family matter to documented public event. Lara's mistake was not hitting me. Her mistake was systemic. She, the head of communications, failed to do a basic risk assessment of her own actions. She, the executive, failed to read the covenants of the very deal she is supposed to be promoting. She believed the rules she enforced on others did not apply to her. That is not just arrogance. In my world, it is a catastrophic compliance failure. While my father discusses the merits of a particular Bordeaux with the sommelier, my fingers are moving again under the table. I open a new, secure draft email. The recipient line is blank for now, but I know exactly which address it's for. The Anonymous Ethics Hotline portal, which I manage the backend for. I type a single line in the subject field. Draft, Incident Report, RL. I don't feel anger. I don't feel fear. I feel the cold, clean hum of a process being executed. The event has occurred. The evidence has been gathered. The protocol is being initiated. The next logical step is the board of directors. Lara catches me looking at my plate. She smiles, a thin, satisfied expression. Eat your dinner, Nora. I pick up my fork. I will, I say. My mind is already x-raying the corporate structure, identifying the allies on the audit committee, and calculating the exact financial and legal leverage required to trigger the clause. The system I built to protect the company is about to do its job. It's about to protect the company from her. The phone in my lap gives a single, haptic pulse, a reply. For a moment that stretches taut as a wire, the world outside our booth, the clinking of glasses, the low thrum of conversation, fades to a distant hum. My focus narrows to that small, dark screen, a portal out of this gilded cage. My thumb moves with practiced smoothness, navigating the lock screen without needing to lift the device from my lap. The message is there, from E. Evan Cole. The name itself feels like a relic from a different geological era of my life. 8 years ago. He was a patrol officer with a sharp jawline and an unnerving habit of looking at people as if he were actually listening to what they were saying. For 11 months, he was Lara's boyfriend. His presence at our Sunday dinners was a disruption in the force field of our family's carefully managed artifice. He didn't understand the unspoken rules. He would ask direct questions. He would talk about his work, about the messy, unphotogenic realities of Foxbridge that existed outside the manicured lawns and philanthropic galas Lara inhabited. He was, in a word, real, and in our family, reality was a contaminant. I was 24 then, still trapped behind the reception desk at Harborline, and I watched their relationship with the detached curiosity of a field biologist observing an invasive species. He didn't fit. He drank beer from the bottle instead of a glass. He wore a worn leather jacket that smelled faintly of rain and city streets. He looked at my father's pronouncements on the economy with a polite but unconvinced stillness. He didn't try to impress anyone. Lara, at the time, seemed to find this charming. She called it his rugged integrity. She treated him like a fascinating, slightly dangerous accessory she had picked up. The end came, as I knew it must, at the intersection of his integrity and her ambition. One of Lara's PR clients, a real estate developer, was facing a minor scandal involving a zoning variance and some suspiciously well-timed campaign donations. It was a small, local story, but it threatened to be ugly. Lara needed it to disappear. She needed a friendly voice inside the Foxbridge PD to misplace a file, to slow walk a preliminary inquiry, to simply help the situation resolve itself quietly. She asked Evan. He said no. I wasn't there, but I pieced it together from Lara's subsequent performance. The breakup was announced over brunch with her closest friends, a masterclass in narrative control. Evan wasn't fired as a character. He was recast. He was no longer a man of rugged integrity. He became principled to a fault, a phrase she delivered with a sigh of regretful fondness. He was a good man, she told them, but his rigid black-and-white view of the world was simply not compatible with the nuances of her life. He was stuck, unable to see the bigger picture. Then came the final, brilliant touch, the one that both neutered him as a threat and painted her as the tragic victim. He still has feelings, of course, she'd said, dabbing a non-existent tear from the corner of her eye. It's a shame. When a man like that falls for you, it's hard for him to let go. In a single afternoon, she had transformed his ethical stand into a case of emotional immaturity and unrequited love. He wasn't a man who had refused to be corrupted. He was a heartbroken ex who couldn't handle her success. The story was so effective that even now, years later, a few of her older friends will still ask me, with a conspiratorial whisper, if I've heard whether poor Evan is seeing anyone. Evan, for his part, never said a word. He simply vanished from our lives. I saw him only once after that, about a month later. I was leaving the Harbor Line building, and he was standing across the street, just watching it. We made eye contact. He gave me a short, almost imperceptible nod. I was about to walk on when he crossed the street. He didn't say hello. He just looked at me, his gaze as direct and unvarnished as always. "Your stepmother," he said, his voice low. "She's very good at writing contracts, the ones you don't realize you're a part of." He paused, his eyes holding mine. "Just a piece of advice. Don't ever sign anything she gives you, or your father gives you, that you haven't read 3 times, and had a lawyer read a 4th. Then he nodded again and walked away. It was not a warning offered in friendship. It was a professional courtesy, a piece of intelligence shared by someone who had seen the other side of the battle lines and recognized a fellow soldier. However unwitting, I never forgot it. So, no. I do not trust Evan Cole. I have no illusions about some dormant loyalty or lingering affection. Trust is an emotion, and emotions are unreliable variables. I trust what I have observed and what I can verify. I trust his file. Evan Cole is now Sergeant Evan Cole. His career has been a slow, steady climb, marked by commendations for procedure and diligence. He is known for being by the book. Lara's assessment of him 8 years ago, beneath all the layers of her self-serving fiction, contained a kernel of truth. He is principled to a fault, and tonight, his fault is my asset. My message to him, "Body cam?" was a calculated query. It was not a plea for help. It was a request for information, framed in the language of his profession. It asked, "Are you on duty? Is your official recording equipment active? Are you in a position to create an objective, legally admissible record of an event?" It was a message that appealed not to his history with Lara, but to his duty as an officer. His reply, now glowing on the screen in my lap, confirms my hypothesis. If an act of violence is being committed, you don't need me. You need the process. The words are a perfect reflection of the man I remember. He is deflecting, drawing a clear professional boundary. He is telling me that he will not get personally involved. He is warning me not to use his name or our history, and in the same breath, he is giving me exactly what I need. He is validating my strategy. He is pointing me toward the machine. My thumbs move quickly, my reply precise and devoid of emotion. I need the process, not a favor. I am mirroring his language. I am confirming that I understand the terms of this transaction. This is not about personal history. This is about procedure. The 3 small dots of his reply appear almost instantly. He is a fast typist. The new message comes through a few seconds later. It is not a conversation, it is a data transfer. Dispatch non-emergency line is 555 290 Police. Patrol car 3B19 is the active unit in your sector. Requesting officer assistance for a civil standby or to file a report will generate a case number. End of communication. My heart gives a single, hard beat against my aching ribs. It is done. He has not offered to intervene. He has not offered a word of sympathy. He has given me a phone number and a call sign. He has given me the keys. He has shown me the door in the wall. The official, sanctioned, unimpeachable way out. And by stating, end of communication, he has made it clear that his involvement is over. He has provided public information and nothing more. He is clean, which makes the information he provided clean, too. I commit the number and the call sign to memory. Then, I open the secure draft email on my phone, the one with the subject line, Draft, Incident Report, RL 0813. In the body of the email, I type a new line, cross-reference FPD Patrol Unit 3B19. I am already building the chain of custody. I am creating the file. In my mind, I can see the organizational chart, the flowchart of actions and consequences. My path is not through the tangled, thorny thicket of family history and personal appeals. It is not about convincing anyone of my truth or begging for help. It is a straight line. There are no shortcuts through the swamp Lara and my father have created, but there is a clean, well-lit, legally paved road that goes right around it, and Evan Cole just gave me the map. The rest of dinner is a performance in 3 acts. I eat my sea bass, making appropriate comments about the citrus glaze. I listen as my father and Lara discuss the seating chart for the upcoming Riverfront Foundation Gala. I nod, I smile, I sip my water. The pain in my side is a metronome, a steady, rhythmic pulse counting down the seconds. I am a ghost at my own table, my mind already 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, executing a checklist that exists only in my head. When the waiter brings the check in a leather billfold, I reach for it before my father can. "I'll take care of this," I say, my voice even. It's a small deviation from our usual script, and it earns me a sharp look from Lara. But my father simply shrugs. It's an expense I can easily afford. I hand the waiter my corporate card. This is important. The transaction will be logged on a Harborline server, another thread in the web. When he returns, I take the itemized receipt. I fold it carefully and place it in my wallet. Check. Timestamp, 20:47 p.m. Transaction ID, 94A3B8. POS Terminal, 04. Server, K. Jensen. As we rise to leave, I let Richard and Lara walk a few paces ahead. I turn to the manager, a man in a tailored suit whose expression is one of permanent, low-grade anxiety. I present him with my Harborline business card. Nora Quinn, Compliance Division. He blinks at the title. It's meant to be slightly intimidating, vaguely legal. "Of course, Ms. Quinn, was everything to your satisfaction?" "Everything was excellent," I say, my tone professional and detached. "However, for our internal records, we require a copy of the CCTV footage covering Table 12, our booth. For the period between 8:00 p.m. and 9:00 p.m. tonight, it's a standard liability procedure for executive dinners." His face tightens. "Our camera footage? I'm not sure I'm authorized." "I understand," I cut him off smoothly. "Your hesitation is appropriate. That's why I need you to download the raw video files from the 2 cameras with overlapping views of our table. Place them in a folder and zip it. Then, I need you to apply a digital signature from your management terminal to the zip file to verify its authenticity and time of creation. It's called establishing a chain of custody. It protects you and the restaurant from any suggestion of tampering." I pause, letting the technical jargon settle. "This is a non-negotiable part of Harborline's event protocol. Your corporate client agreement covers this. You can check." He won't check. He won't know where to look. But he hears the confidence in my voice, the easy fluency with procedure, and he folds. "Of course, a digital signature. One moment. I give him a sterile USB drive from my purse. 10 minutes later, he returns with it. It's all there. Ms. Quinn, signed and time-stamped. Thank you for your cooperation, I say. I place the drive in a small, static-proof evidence bag I carry in my work briefcase. Check. The car ride home is thick with a silence that is somehow heavier than words. Lara is scrolling through her phone. Richard is staring out at the rain-streaked streets of Foxbridge. They believe the night is over. They have no idea it has just begun. They drop me at my apartment building. We'll see you Sunday, my father says. It's not a question. I'll check my schedule, I reply, and close the car door before he can answer. I don't go upstairs. I get back in my own car and drive. Not home, but to the Foxbridge Police Department headquarters. The lobby is a sterile, fluorescent-lit box smelling of stale coffee and disinfectant. The officer at the front desk looks up from his computer with an expression of profound boredom. I need to file a report, I say calmly. He slides a form and a clipboard across the counter. Fill it out. I take it to a hard plastic chair. In the box marked Nature of Complaint, I write, in neat block letters, Assault by household member. I list the time, the date, the location. I describe the incident in clear, concise, unemotional language. A physical strike to the right rib cage by a closed fist. I name Lara Wynne as the assailant. As I'm writing, the door to the inner offices opens and Evan Cole walks out. He is in uniform. His sergeant's stripes sharp on his sleeve. He is holding a mug. He stops when he sees me. There is no recognition in his eyes. No flicker of surprise. It is a perfect poker face. He doesn't approach me. He walks to the coffee machine in the corner, his back to the room. He is making himself absent, a ghost in his own precinct. He is following the process. I finish the form and walk back to the desk. I hand it to the officer. I also have an initial piece of evidence I'd like to submit with the report, I say. I take out a second USB drive, this one containing only the audio file from my lapel microphone. This is a digital recording of the incident. The officer sighs. The sound of a man burdened by the endless paperwork of human misery. He takes the drive, places it in a small plastic baggie, and staples it to my report. You'll get a case number in the mail. Thank you, I say. I turn and walk out. As the lobby door closes behind me, I glance back. Evan is still at the coffee machine. He is looking at me now. He gives a single, sharp nod. It is not an offer of help. It is not a sign of solidarity. It is an acknowledgement. The machine has been activated. Check. My next stop is the emergency room at Foxbridge General. The wait is 2 hours. The triage nurse is overworked. I don't care. I'm not here for immediate relief. I'm here for documentation. When a doctor finally sees me, I explain what happened in the same clinical tone I used in the police report. He probes my side gently. I wince. The pain is sharper now. A deep, blooming ache. There's going to be significant bruising, he says, his voice tired. I don't think anything's broken, but we can do an X-ray to be sure. An X-ray isn't necessary, I say. What I do need is for you to document the location and nature of the injury in your official report, and I need a nurse to take photos of the area before I leave. He looks at me, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. He has seen this before. He knows what this is. Of course, he says. An hour later, I leave with a copy of the doctor's initial report and a set of high-resolution digital photos that clearly show the angry, purplish discoloration already forming on my skin. Check. Back in my apartment, I don't rest. I go to my home office. This is my command center. I power on my computer and begin the final phase of the operation. First, I connect my smartwatch. I download the data packet for 8:13 p.m. The file contains the GPS coordinates of the river lantern, a second-by-second graph of my heart rate showing a spike from 72 to 115 beats per minute, and the accelerometer data flagged as a hard impact event. I save the file, RL0813, impact data, DAT. Next, I log into the hospital's patient portal and download the PDF of the medical report and the image files. RL0813 medical, PDF, RL0813 photos, zip. Then, I upload the files from the 2 USB drives. The pristine, digitally signed CCTV footage from the restaurant manager, RL0813 CCTV, zip. The audio file of the assault, RL0813 audio. Wave. I scan the itemized dinner receipt, RL0813, timestamp, PDF. I have 5 files, 5 distinct, corroborating, unimpeachable pieces of evidence. The trap is built. Now it's time to arm it. I open a secure browser and navigate to Harborline Dynamics' internal ethics and compliance portal. It's an anonymous reporting system I helped design. I know its every secret. I click File a new report. I select Violation of Corporate Code of Conduct and Risk to Company Reputation. In the description box, I write a concise summary of the events of RL0813. I do not name myself as the victim. I write it from the perspective of an anonymous witness. An incident of physical violence was observed being committed by CCO Lara Wynn. I attach each of my 5 evidence files. I watch the progress bars fill, 100%. The final field on the form is timing of submission. I can file it immediately, or I can schedule it for a future date and time. This is a feature I personally insisted on. For situations requiring strategic deployment, I click Schedule Submission. A calendar appears. I select this coming Monday. The time defaults to 9:00 a.m. Perfect. The weekly shareholder briefing call begins at 9:15 a.m. I click Confirm. A box pops up. Your report is scheduled and will be locked for submission at the selected time. An encrypted authentication code will be sent to your designated anonymous mailbox. The final step. I open a new email. The recipient is the General Counsel and the head of the board's Audit Committee, IBCC, the anonymous ethics portal's archival address, creating another layer of record. The subject line is stark and cold. Please preserve RL0813. Material. I don't write anything in the body. The subject line is enough. It's a legal hold notification. It warns them that a significant event has occurred, and that any attempt to delete or alter records related to it will have severe consequences. I hit send. The machine is now fully assembled, loaded, and automated. The timer is set. For the next 68 hours, I will do nothing. I will answer my phone. I will go to work. I will be the quiet, dutiful daughter. And on Monday morning, at 9:00 a.m., the trap will spring itself. The air in the 20th floor boardroom is pressurized, a climate-controlled vacuum of expensive carpet, polished mahogany, and the faint, acidic smell of ambition. It is Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. The Stonepath Freight acquisition hangs in this room, a $1.8 billion ghost we are all trying to either placate or chain down. Lara is at the head of the table, in her element. She is not my stepmother today. She is the chief communications officer, a general briefing her troops. A massive flat screen displays her presentation. Project Keystone, a new narrative. It's all logos, synergistic buzzwords, and a timeline for press releases designed to assure the market that this merger is not just a good idea, but an inevitability. Our Q4 messaging will focus on strength through unity, she says, her voice a smooth, confident balm. We aren't acquiring Stonepath. We are merging with a valued partner. The media buy is already locked in, and the initial analyst calls have been overwhelmingly positive. My father nods, his face set in a mask of stern approval. Good, good. No surprises. Lara, the banks want a smooth sea. This deal must close. It will. Richard, she says, flashing him a smile that is both intimate and a public filing. The narrative is secure. The agenda moves forward. Finance, operations. Finally, it's my turn. Legal, risk, and compliance. Thank you, Lara, I say, my voice flat, my laptop already synced to the presentation screen. Her slides vanish, replaced by my stark, data-driven dashboard. It's a heat map of potential liabilities associated with the merger. Overall compliance for Project Keystone is green, I begin, my tone that of a weather forecaster reporting a sunny day. Financing covenants are locked. Antitrust reviews are on schedule. We have, however, one new item flagged in the reputational risk category. I click. The screen updates. A single line item, colored in a glaring statutory red, appears at the top of the list. Status, pending, incident ID, RL0813. Classification, Tier 1. Reputational, C-suite. The room temperature drops 10 degrees. I can feel Lara's eyes on me. A physical weight. My father's head snaps up. What is that? Richard's voice is a low growl. I just said. No surprises. Get that off the screen. Lara gives a short, brittle laugh. Nora, we've been over this. You can't just flag a pending incident without any details. It's meaningless. It's an unverified data point. She waves a dismissive hand. It has no merit. Remove it. I can't do that, I say, keeping my gaze on Marklin, our general counsel, who is now sitting up very straight. A report was filed. A report you filed? Lara counters, her voice dangerously sweet. Who filed the report is irrelevant to this body, I state, my voice echoing the cold, legal text I am about to quote. The existence of the report is all that matters. As of this morning, it is an active file, and its existence triggers a non-discretionary protocol. I click my remote. My heat map is replaced by a stark black and white page. A scanned image of Section 7, Subsection B, of the Harborline Code of Conduct, the very section this board ratified last quarter. Per the board-approved protocol, I say, reading the words aloud as if to a child. Any allegation or incident, from any source, that involves a named officer and is supported by either a formal police report or verifiable third-party video documentation, must be immediately escalated to the Ethics Committee for review within 24 hours. I let the words hang in the air. Marklin, the general counsel, fidgets. He is a man who hates conflict but fears liability more. He pushes his glasses up his nose. She is technically correct. The protocol was designed to be automatic, to remove managerial discretion in sensitive matters. What does doubled mean? My father grunts, tapping his pen. It means the review protocol for senior leadership is absolute. I answer before Marklin can. There is no wait and see. There is no handle it internally. The protocol's only purpose is to protect the board and the company from the accusation of a cover-up, especially during a sensitive SEC-regulated period like a merger. I advance to the next slide. It's just a list of titles. Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer, General Counsel, Chief Communications Officer. I let my cursor hover over the last line. Lara's smile is gone. Her face is a perfect, smooth mask of indignation. This is an absurd abuse of procedure. A phantom report? It's a fishing expedition. Who exactly is going to confirm this allegation? She leans forward, her eyes narrowing. Who would dare? I look at the clock on the boardroom wall. The red second hand sweeps past the 12. 9:02 a.m. My scheduled report has been live in the system for exactly 120 seconds. It has already been auto-triaged by the system's keywords, flagged as Tier 1, and an automated summons has been sent to the head of the Ethics Committee. As if on cue, the heavy boardroom door clicks open. It's not a dramatic entrance. It's quiet, professional, and unstoppable. Anne Tuvalu, the chair of the Ethics Committee, steps inside. Anne is a former federal prosecutor, a woman with a spine made of rebar who was hired specifically to prove to our investors that our governance was beyond reproach. She reports directly to the board, not to my father. She is the one part of this company that Lara cannot charm and my father cannot command. She is holding a single, sealed manila envelope, Printed on a white label on its front is a case number, RL0813. The silence in the room is absolute. It is the sound of a 1.8 billion deal holding its breath. My father stares at the envelope, his brow furrowed in confusion. Lara's face has gone perfectly, beautifully pale. She recognizes the number from my screen. "Anne?" Richard says, his voice losing its baritone. "What is this?" I apologize for the interruption. "Mr. Quinn," Anne Tuvalu says, her voice as dry as a legal brief. "At 09:00 this morning, the ethics portal received an automated, high-priority Tier 1 report. It meets the criteria for immediate board notification under Section 7. She doesn't look at me. She doesn't look at Lara. She walks to the general counsel and places the sealed envelope on the table in front of him. "This is the initial file," she says. "It contains multiple data points, including a self-report, a medical file, a police report number, and—" She pauses, her eyes finally lifting to the main screen. "Verifiable third-party footage." Lara makes a small sound, a tiny intake of breath. "This is a setup," she whispers. "A family matter." "The protocol does not have an exception for family matters," Anne says, her voice devoid of any emotion. As the general counsel stares at the envelope, too afraid to open it, I click my remote one last time. My slide of text disappears. The screen is filled with a grainy, high-angle image, a still frame from the river lantern's ceiling camera. It is date and time-stamped, RL CAMS 01, 20/13/06, 10/18/2025. The image is unmistakable. It shows our table. It shows my father looking away. It shows my body tensed, recoiling, and it shows Lara, her face a mask of cold fury, her right hand drawn back, frozen in time, an instant before it strikes my side. No one speaks. No one breathes. The click of my remote as I turned off the screensaver was the loudest sound in the history of the world. Anne Tuvalu doesn't move. She simply nods at the general counsel. "Mr. Marklin, if you would—" Marklin fumbles with the remote, his hand shaking slightly. The still image on the screen flickers, and then it moves. The video is silent at first. Just a high-angle, grainy view of our table. It's unnervingly mundane. We look like any other wealthy family having a tense dinner. The audio kicks in, a low-quality recording filled with the ambient clatter of cutlery and muffled conversations from other tables. Then, the moment arrives. The waiter places the fork. Lara leans in, her lips moving, but her whispered words are lost in the room's noise. The video continues, a long, excruciating beat of nothing. Then, on the screen, a blur of motion under the table. It's her right hand, my body, in the frame, gives a sharp, involuntary jerk, folding in on itself for a fraction of a second. It's a movement that could almost be missed if you weren't looking for it. But my audio file, synced to the video by the IT department in the last 5 minutes, is not so subtle. A small speaker on the conference table emits a soft, dull thump. It's a sound with no context in a restaurant. It's the sound of knuckles hitting fabric and flesh. It is followed by the sharp, distinct sound of my water glass rattling against the coaster as my hand trembles. The video plays on for another 10 seconds, showing Lara turning to smile at the next table, a perfect tableau of normalcy. Then it freezes. The silence in the boardroom is a physical thing. It has weight and texture. It presses down, suffocating. My father is staring at the screen, his face slack, the color draining from it. The other board members are a gallery of stone-faced statues, their eyes wide. "The next exhibit," Anne Tuvalu says, her voice cutting through the stillness. The video is replaced by a clinical, high-resolution photograph. It's a close-up of my right side, taken against the pale green backdrop of a hospital room. A massive, ugly bruise is blooming across my ribs, a chaotic galaxy of purple, blue, and angry red. The metadata is displayed in the bottom corner. Foxbridge General Hospital, 2347, 10/18/2025. Before anyone can fully process it, the image changes again. This time, it's a graph, a jagged, angry red line on a white background. Heart rate data from the victim's smartwatch, Anne explains, her voice as dispassionate as a machine. At 20:13:06, the moment of impact according to the restaurant's time code, the subject's heart rate jumps from 72 to 115 beats per minute in under 3 seconds. The device also logged a hard impact event, with corresponding GPS data placing it at the river lantern. Another click, a scanned document appears. It's a sworn affidavit. This is a statement from the night manager of the river lantern, Anne continues. It confirms he personally extracted the CCTV footage at my request, and that the digital signature on the file is his, verifying an unbroken and untampered chain of custody from the restaurant's server to our own. My father finally finds his voice. It's a hoarse whisper. Your request? Nora, you? The report was filed anonymously. Richard, Lara snaps, her voice high and thin. She has found a lifeline. This is a witch hunt, based on an anonymous, unsubstantiated. The report is no longer anonymous, and Tuvalu interrupts. The system requires an authentication code from our IT security division to unmask the original filer. That code was requested and provided at 9:05 a.m. this morning. The screen changes again. It shows a screenshot of the submission portal. My name, Nora Quinn, is now clearly visible in the filer field. As the filer is a Harborline employee and the subject of the report is her direct superior in a family context, this automatically triggers a Level 3 hostile work environment investigation, which runs concurrently to the ethics review. Anne adds, another nail in the coffin. A chime emanates from the conference phone in the center of the table. The general counsel, looking startled, stabs a button. A small light blinks green. Mr. Marklin, a new voice says, sharp and tinny from the speaker. This is David Chen, outside counsel for Stonepath Freight. Am I correct that the Harborline board is in session? Marklin swallows hard. Yes, David, we're here. Excellent. We have been monitoring market chatter and have just been made aware of a potential material event involving your senior leadership. I am calling to formally remind the board that per Section 4.A of the merger agreement, any public confirmation, including a press release, a civil filing that becomes public record, or a criminal charge related to an act of moral turpitude by a named officer within the next 72 hours, gives Stonepath the unilateral right to terminate the deal and invoke the 9-figure penalty clause. We require your immediate and unequivocal assurance that the situation is contained. The disembodied voice is a splash of ice water. The threat is no longer internal or hypothetical. It is external, immediate, and has a very specific price tag. My father looks like he's going to be sick. Lara sees her opening. She forces a smile, a grotesque caricature of her usual radiant expression. She turns to the other board members, her hands spread in a gesture of appeal. This is all a terrible misunderstanding, she says, her voice trembling slightly. A masterful performance of a woman wronged. Nora is emotional. We had a disagreement, a family misunderstanding that is being blown completely out of proportion. This is a private matter, not a corporate one. She looks at me, her eyes pleading, but with a hard, diamond-like threat behind them. You will stop this now. I don't look at the board. I don't look at my father. I look directly at her. My voice, when I speak, is quiet, clear, and carries across the silent room like a shard of glass. I gesture with my chin toward the frozen image of her on the screen, her hand raised, her face contorted in a mask of rage that no one in this room has ever seen before. In the video, Lara, I ask, my voice devoid of heat, a simple request for data. Is that your hand? The room holds its breath. Every eye is on her. It's a simple, binary question. A yes is a confession. A no is a lie, easily disproven by the mountain of evidence arrayed against her. There is no narrative she can spin. There is no PR strategy that can deflect it. There is only the question, hanging in the air. The silence that follows is profound. It is not an absence of sound. It is a presence. It is the sound of lawyers calculating liability. It is the sound of board members mentally updating their resumes. It is the sound of my father's legacy turning to dust. It is the sound of a $1.8 billion deal dying on the vine. It is the longest, most expensive silence in the history of Harborline dynamics. Lara's mouth opens and closes. A tiny, soundless gasp. The silence stretches, taut and humming. My question, is that your hand? Is a physical object in the room, an indictment she cannot dodge. She looks to my father, her eyes wide with a desperate, furious appeal. He stares at the screen, his face ashen, his entire empire pivoting on this single, sordid moment. "This is a private matter," he finally chokes out, his voice a low rasp. "It is a family dispute. It has no place in this boardroom." "On the contrary, Mr. Quinn," Anne Tuvalu says, her voice as cold and precise as a scalpel. "The allegation of assault, now substantiated by video and medical evidence, is the material event, but Ms. Wynn's assertion that this is a private misunderstanding is what concerns the Ethics Committee the most. It suggests a misunderstanding of her duties as an officer of this corporation, and it has forced a review of previously unresolved files." She signals to the IT technician in the corner. The screen changes. The grainy restaurant video is replaced by a new file header. Case ID AN0419. 2 years prior. 2 years ago, Anne continues, her voice a relentless monotone. An anonymous report was filed through the ethics portal. It alleged that a senior executive was using intimidation and external resources to suppress an internal complaint, specifically, a sexual harassment complaint filed by a junior employee. My blood runs cold. I remember the incident. It was my incident, the one that drove me from the front desk into the legal department. At the time, Anne says, the complaint was closed, the victim declined to pursue the matter, and there was insufficient evidence of executive interference. A new image appears on the screen. It's a flowchart, a spiderweb of metadata. Given the new questions about Ms. Wynn's conduct, we reran the metadata analysis this morning. The anonymous blog post that praised Harborline's proactive handling of the incident. It was planted. We traced the originating IP to a boutique PR firm. Wynn Media Strategies, a firm registered to a P.O. box, which, in turn, is linked to Ms. Wynn's personal credit card. Lara's composure finally shatters. That is circumstantial. You can't prove. We also, Anne cuts her off, uncovered the email communications between the Harborline server and that firm's domain. An email appears. It's from Lara's official Harborline address. The recipient is the principal of the Shell PR firm. The subject is the reception problem. The body is a single chilling line. Make it go away by Monday. This, Anne says, demonstrates a clear, pre-existing pattern of using corporate and non-corporate assets to interfere with internal investigations and manipulate the press. She clicks again, a new scanned document. It also gives new context to this. A disciplinary note filed at the time by a Foxbridge PD officer, Evan Cole, who was dating Ms. Wynn. He noted suspected press interference in the police report of the original harassment claim. He was overruled, and the note was buried. At the time, it was deemed insufficient evidence. Now, it is part of a documented pattern. My father looks at Lara, a new, horrifying understanding dawning on his face. He is not just looking at his wife, he is looking at a rogue variable he cannot control. A pattern, Anne Tuvalu repeats. That appears to have continued as recently as last Friday night. The conference speakerphone, which had been silent, crackles. "Mr. Marklin," says the lawyer from Stonepath, his voice now dangerously cold. "Are we to understand the Ethics Committee is presenting evidence of another cover-up?" "We are presenting evidence of a pattern of interference," Anne states calmly. At 23:30 on Friday, October 18th, approximately 30 minutes after Ms. Quinn filed her initial assault report at the FPD precinct. A call was placed from Ms. Wynn's personal cell phone to the desk sergeant, a man she has known for several years. "She was trying to clear up the misunderstanding," Lara says, her voice shrill. "I was trying to protect the company." The sergeant, noting the active case number, stated he could not discuss the matter. He logged the call. What he did not know, Anne says, is that he had put Miss Wynn on speakerphone, and Officer Janowitz, who was standing beside the desk completing a different report, had his body-worn camera actively recording. The screen flashes again. It's a video file. This one is dark, shaky, pointed at the floor of the police precinct, but the audio is crystal clear. We hear the desk sergeant's voice. "Lara, I can't talk about this. There's a file." And then, Lara's voice, the same voice she uses to charm reporters and flatter board members, but now slick with a desperate, cloying intimacy. I know. Listen, it's all just a ridiculous family thing. Nora's just, upset. It's a total misunderstanding. I was thinking, maybe you and I could just grab coffee, talk this through before it gets out of hand. Before any reports go. Final. We can just make it go away. The audio clicks off. The Stonepath lawyer is the first to speak. His voice is no longer legal and tinny. It is glacial. "Mr. Marklin, this call is terminated. Consider the Stonepath merger officially and indefinitely paused. This is not a family matter. This is a documented, systemic pattern of executive malfeasance, press manipulation, and now, a clear attempt to interfere with an active police investigation. You have 24 hours to prove to our board that Harborline has absolute internal control over its executive leadership, specifically, your chief communications officer. If we don't see a public, decisive, and permanent action, we are invoking the penalty clause at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Good day." The line goes dead. For a full second, the only sound is the hum of the projector. Then, my father's fist hits the mahogany table. The sound is like a gunshot. Water glasses jump. The entire room flinches. "Loyalty!" he roars, his face purple, a vein throbbing in his temple. He is not looking at Lara. He is looking at me. "This is what it comes to? After everything? You bring this filth into my company? You destroy your family? You destroy my deal? For what? A goddamn fork?" The other board members shrink in their seats. This is the Richard Quinn who built an empire, the boardroom brawler, the man who crushed unions and bankrupted competitors. But I am not a competitor. I am not a union. I am his compliance department. "Mr. Quinn?" Anne Tuvalu says, her voice cutting through his rage like a diamond drill. "This is not about loyalty. It is about liability. While you are yelling about forks, our pre-market stock has just been unhalted. It is down 12%. A chorus of clicks and vibrations as every other board member grabs their phone. The color drains from their faces. The blood drains from my father's. 12%. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Evaporated in minutes. I stand up. My hands are steady. The pain in my side is a dull, cold anchor. I look at the chairman of the board, an old money patrician named Harrison, who has been silent until now. "Mr. Chairman," I say, my voice projecting to every corner of the room, "my father is correct about one thing. This is about the company. The Stonepath deal is paused because we have failed to demonstrate internal control. The stock is falling because the market smells a lie. We cannot manage this. We cannot PR this. There is only one way to reestablish control and save the deal." I pause, letting every eye lock on me. I make a motion that the board immediately suspend Lara Wynn from her duties as Chief Communications Officer indefinitely, pending the results of a full and independent third-party investigation into her conduct related to Incident RL-0813, the suppression of the 0419 complaint, and her attempts to interfere with a police investigation, and that we release a public statement announcing this suspension and investigation, effective immediately. The words land like stones. Lara stares at me, her eyes hollow. My father looks like I have just physically struck him. Harrison, the chairman, looks at the stock ticker on his phone. He looks at Anna Tuvalu's emotionless face. He looks at my father's apoplectic rage. He looks at Lara's collapsed mask. Finally, he looks at me, his expression unreadable. He gives a single, sharp nod. We'll take a vote. The stage is a sea of calm. Corporate blue, the Harborline Dynamics logo, a stylized ship's prow cutting through a wave, is projected onto a massive screen, 30 feet high. It is 11:00 a.m. This is our quarterly shareholder town hall, a carefully choreographed piece of corporate theater, live streamed to thousands of investors, analysts, and journalists across the country. The auditorium is packed, a faceless ocean of dark suits and expectant silence. The air hums with the low thrum of the ventilation system and the almost imperceptible electronic whine of the broadcast equipment. My father stands at a sleek, minimalist lectern in the center of the stage. He looks every inch the titan of industry. His suit is immaculate. His silver hair is perfectly coiffed. His expression is one of grave, paternal confidence. A few feet behind him, positioned slightly to his left, is Lara. She is a vision of serene power, dressed in a cream-colored suit that radiates competence and soft authority. Her face is a mask of placid composure. To the thousands watching, they are a portrait of stability, the steady hands on the tiller of a great corporate ship. They have no idea the ship is already taking on water. I am seated in the front row, not with the family, but with the legal team. I am in my role. Nora Quinn, Senior Analyst, Compliance Division. My hands are folded in my lap. My breathing is even. The pain in my side is a cold, hard knot, a physical reminder of the stakes. Good morning, my father begins, his voice resonating through the auditorium, a deep, reassuring baritone that has calmed nervous investors for 3 decades. I want to thank you all for joining us. In times of transition, of great leaps forward, like our pending merger with Stonepath Freight, it is more important than ever to remember the foundation upon which this company was built. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. The cameras zoom in on his face. That foundation, he continues, is family, not just my family, but the Harborline family, a family built on trust, on integrity, and on the unwavering loyalty that sees us through any storm. We are strong, we are stable, we are a family that stands together, and that is why we will always succeed. It is a beautiful speech. It is a masterful lie. Lara, standing behind him, offers a small, beatific smile to the camera, the perfect corporate wife, the pillar of the family. My father opens his mouth to continue, to move on to the quarterly earnings, but he never gets there. Richard! The voice comes from the side of the stage. It is not loud, but it cuts through the auditorium's silence like a razor. Harrison, the chairman of the board, has risen from his seat. He is holding a single sheet of paper. My father stops, startled. This is not in the script. Harrison? Forgive the interruption, the chairman says. Walking calmly to the lectern, he does not look at my father. He looks directly into the lens of the main broadcast camera. Before we proceed with the earnings report, the board of directors has an announcement. He takes the lectern. My father, confused and wrong-footed, takes a half-step back, suddenly looking smaller, a guest on his own stage. Effective immediately, Harrison says, his voice a hammer of cold, hard fact. The board of directors of Harborline Dynamics, in a unanimous vote, has suspended Lara Wynn from her duties as Chief Communications Officer, pending the results of a full and independent investigation. A collective gasp ripples through the auditorium. It is a sound like the tide going out. A sudden, shocked exhalation. Lara's serene mask doesn't crack. It shatters. Her face freezes in an expression of pure, uncomprehending horror. Behind Harrison, the massive screen with the Harborline logo flickers. The logo is replaced by stark, black text on a white background. Action: immediate suspension. Subject: CCO Lara Wynn. Reason: pending investigation under Harborline Ethics Protocol 7.3. Executive conduct and corporate liability. The protocol number is a weapon. It tells the investors, the analysts, the entire world that this is not a random firing. This is the activation of a formal, legally vetted process. It is a signal of control, not chaos. The board is also commissioning a third-party firm to conduct a comprehensive review of our internal reporting and communications protocols. Harrison continues, his voice relentless. The integrity of this company and the security of the StonePath merger are our paramount concerns. We have already been in communication with our partners at StonePath, who have been apprised of the situation and our decisive action. He looks down at me. Ms. Quinn, from our compliance division, will provide a brief statement on the protocols in question. This is my cue. I stand and walk to the stage. The journey from my seat to the lectern feels 100 miles long. I am aware of every camera, every pair of eyes. I can feel Lara's stare burning into my back. I do not look at her. I do not look at my father. I walk past them both as if they are strangers. I reach the lectern. I'm not tall enough for it, so I step to the side. Positioning myself directly in front of the cameras, I hold no notes. I don't need them. The speech is seared into my brain. Good morning, I say, my voice steady and clear. My name is Nora Quinn. I work in the compliance division. My purpose today is to reassure our shareholders. The actions taken by the board this morning are not a sign of instability. They are proof that our system of governance works. I keep my sentences short, my language direct. The protocols we have in place are not suggestions. They are mandates. They are designed to identify and neutralize reputational and financial risk at the highest levels, without bias or discretion. An incident was reported, verifiable. Third-party evidence was provided. The system was triggered. The process was followed. I can feel the 90-second clock ticking in my head. Our commitment to the morals clause within the StonePath merger agreement is absolute. Our commitment to our ESG rating is non-negotiable. Harborline's value is built on the flawless execution of logistics. Our corporate governance will be held to that same standard. Thank you. I finish at 88 seconds. I turn to walk away. As I pass Lara, she lunges forward, her face a twisted mask of rage. Security personnel, already moving toward the stage, intercept her, but not before she hisses at me. Her voice a low, venomous promise. Nora, you will regret this. I don't break stride. I don't look back. Two members of our internal security team, large men in discreet dark suits, are now on stage. They approach Lara. Ma'am, one says, his voice quiet but firm. We need you to come with us. The public humiliation is absolute. She is being escorted from the stage of her own triumph like a common trespasser. She has no choice. She allows them to lead her away, her head held high in a last desperate performance of defiance. Outside the auditorium doors, I know what is waiting for her. Not a corporate town car, but a flurry of reporters who have just received a push notification on their phones, a press release from Harborline containing a single paragraph about her suspension and a public access link to the Foxbridge court system, where they can track the docket of a newly filed assault charge. As I reach my seat, my phone vibrates in my pocket. I pull it out under the cover of the table. It is an email. The sender is David Chen, the lead counsel for StonePath Freight. The subject is Re-Merger Status. The body of the email contains a single, beautiful sentence. Pause lifted upon decisive leadership action. We look forward to closing. I take a slow breath. It's over. It worked. In the auditorium, a smattering of applause begins. It grows, not into a roar, but into a solid, sustained ovation. It is not a sound of joy or celebration. It is the sound of thousands of people collectively exhaling. It is the sound of a stock price stabilizing. It is the sound of relief. They are not clapping for me. They are clapping for the protocol. They are clapping for their money. Harrison is back at the lectern. seamlessly transitioning to the rosy projections of the Q4 earnings report. The machine is back on track. I look up, past the stage, to the red light of the main broadcast camera. I know that on the other side of that lens are millions of people. I look directly into it, and I think the last words of my ungiven speech, a final, silent addendum to the corporate record. We do not negotiate with violence. The camera operator, getting his cue from the director, swings the camera away from me and back to the stage. The live stream feed cuts away from the human drama, away from the faces and the pain, and back to the cold, sterile perfection of the Harbor Line logo on a pure white screen. The show is over. The backstage area of the auditorium is a different world. Out front, the town hall is proceeding with a new, enforced sense of order, the stock price a rising green line on the monitors. Here, behind the heavy velvet curtains, it is a chaotic maze of thick black cables, rolling equipment cases, and the lingering, metallic smell of hot electronics mixed with the scent of stale, cold coffee. The rain has stopped. Through a propped-open loading bay door, I can see a sliver of clean gray Foxbridge sky. The storm has passed. My phone buzzes. It's a text from a number I know but have not saved. From Evan. The message is as spare and functional as the man himself. The file is proceeding according to protocol. I had no involvement. It is a declaration of neutrality, a final closing of the loop. He is wiping his hands of the entire affair, ensuring his own professional insulation. He did not help me. He simply provided a map and let me walk the road myself. That was all I ever wanted. My thumbs move across the screen. Thank you for not being involved. I send the message and delete the thread. The transaction is complete. Footsteps echo on the concrete floor behind me. I turn. It's my father. The raw volcanic rage from the boardroom is gone, replaced by a hollow, bewildered exhaustion. He looks older than he did 3 hours ago. The lines around his eyes are deeper. His shoulders slumped under the weight of his immaculate suit. He stops a few feet away from me. He looks at my face, searching for something, remorse, regret, a crack in my composure. He finds nothing. Nora, he begins, his voice raspy. We're family. He takes a half step forward, his hand starting to lift in a gesture that might have once been meant to be placating or paternal, but then his eyes dart to the side. He freezes. A broadcast camera, left on its dolly by a hurried technician, is sitting silently in the corner. Its small red light is still on. It is live, even if no one is watching the feed. It is a silent, unblinking witness. The word family dies on his lips. The script he has used his entire life is useless here. You cannot sell a narrative of family unity to an active camera when you are standing across from the daughter whose complaint just torpedoed your wife's career and nearly sank your legacy. The image is wrong. He, a master of optics, understands this. He lowers his hand. He says nothing else. He simply turns and walks away, a king leaving his own empty castle. Anna Tuvalu finds me a moment later, accompanied by a man I don't recognize, a lawyer from the independent firm the board has retained. He is holding a portable hard drive in a sealed anti-static bag. Ms. Quinn, the lawyer says, his tone respectful. This is the original, digitally signed CCTV footage from the River Lantern, as provided to the Ethics Committee. We require a final signature from you to complete the chain of custody before we take it off-site for analysis. He hands me a tablet and a stylus. A form is displayed on the screen. I read the legal text, a formal transfer of evidence. I sign my name at the bottom, Nora Quinn. The signature is firm and steady. I hand the tablet back. Thank you, Ms. Quinn, he says. He places the hard drive into a locked briefcase. You'll be contacted for a formal statement. I look forward to it, I say. They leave. I am alone in the cavernous space. I take out my work phone and compose one last email. It is addressed to the company-wide distribution list. All Harbor Line employees. The subject line is simple. A note on corporate governance. The body is even simpler. You can report safely. The process will protect you. I hit send. There will be no replies, but thousands will read it. It is a promise. It is the beginning of a new protocol, one not written in a legal binder, but in action. I reach into my blazer pocket. My fingers close around a small, cool, metal object. It is the salad fork. As we were leaving the restaurant on Friday night, the young, nervous waiter had discreetly pressed it into my hand. He had just nodded, a silent gesture of solidarity from one human to another. I had kept it, a small, silver artifact from a dinner that cost a woman her career and a company a piece of its soul. It was the missing piece that made everything else fall into place. Forks, rules, and consequences. There is no catharsis. There are no apologies offered or accepted. There are no tearful reconciliations in the hallway. There is only the cold, clean, and satisfying hum of a system working exactly as it was designed. A system built of rules, turned into a weapon, and then into a shield. I walk toward the loading bay door, toward the slice of clean, gray sky. The cool autumn air hits my face, fresh and sharp. My ribs still ache with a deep, persistent throb, a physical echo of the fight. But the weight that has been settled on my chest for 15 years, the crushing burden of silence and complicity, is gone. I feel light. I step out into the city, the noise of the traffic, the hurried footsteps of strangers on the pavement. It all sounds different now, clearer. They taught me to smile. I taught them consequences. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. So please drop a comment below and let's connect. Share your thoughts on Nora's journey. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. It also helps a ton if you hit the hype button to make sure this story is heard by more people.